Ready for another MPG stunt drive? This week's victim is a Toyota Prius Prime plug-in hybrid. It's got a nice beefy battery pack. We should be able to get plenty of miles out of it. And I'm going to run this two ways. Forward, right, clockwise, and backwards, counterclockwise. For all the people that say, oh, your route, it's just not fair because there's too much downhill. Well, a couple of cars ago I decided I should try this both ways to appease the naysayers. So I did that with the Kia Niro, I think. I'll include a link down in the description to that. But this is the first time that I've done a stunt drive route with a plug-in hybrid, as far as I recall. And so it should be interesting. We're going to see how well the battery holds up each way. Does one way use more battery than the other way? I think it does, but we need to get a feel for that. Now, if you're looking at the Prius Prime as a possible candidate for your next car, you want to get a great price on it. You want to get a local price. You want to find out what it's going to cost you locally. There's a link someplace up here. It'll go to my website, or also down in the description. You go to my website. You'll be able to get a local price. Keep in mind that this car is still eligible for a federal tax rebate. This is important. A federal tax rebate takes some of the sting out of it. It costs more to buy because that battery pack is costly, but the U.S. government gives you a little bit back on April 15th. Everybody can use that, right? So a plug-in hybrid may be a better choice than a conventional hybrid, which does not get the rebate, if the range fits in your daily driving routine. That's the important part. How does it fit your daily routine? Now, my commute, it's pretty short. I could do to work and back on this battery pack. I could do that for 2 days with a Volt, with a Chevy Volt, because it's got a bigger battery pack, but it's a bit more costly, I think. You got to compare it and do all the math and see what fits your requirements, your lifestyle. If you don't have a charger either at home or at work or both, a plug-in hybrid's probably not for you. We're starting out with exactly 30 miles of electric range. And here we go. Nobody behind us, so we can ease out. There's a nice shove. I'm just at not even a quarter pedal. And boy, oh boy, it gets you going. So smooth. Now, right now we're at mid-40s. You see, we dropped 1 mile just in that acceleration because, hey, that's how it works. If I hit the trip meter here, so we've traveled half a mile and we've used 1.5 miles of range, but now I'm off the pedal. So we'll see this number go up a bit. As we're coasting, as we're taking advantage of inertia, it's constantly doing the math. I'm guessing that when I brake for this first turn to the right, we'll see this number go up a little bit. Right now it's at 28.2, and we've only traveled 0.9 of a mile. So we're 1.1 in, and we've lost almost 2 miles of range, but we're about to get it back. As we brake, we see it go up a little bit. Now this is a 25-mile-an-hour road, so we're just easing up, getting to the crest of this little hill here. Once we do, we hit 30, let off, start braking early, Now, if you watch these all the time, you know this is a really skinny, really twisty road with no markings on either side. So there's no line. You've got to pay a lot of attention. Speed limit is only 25 for really good reason. So we're actually a wee bit over the limit. We're going to crest this hill, and then much of this is downhill. We're 1.5 miles in. It's showing 27.9 miles of range. But as we go down this hill, it's going to give us a little bit, a tiny bit of regeneration. If we drag the brakes a little bit, as it gets steeper, you'll see that indicator get a little bit wider. And for all the people say you're going too slow, no, I'm over the limit on this road right now. You got to pay a whole lot of attention. So pardon me for not looking at the camera, looking at the road. You're really dragging the brakes here because otherwise inertia, right? Gravity is just going to make you go a whole lot faster. Right now we're up to 36 because of that hill. So we'll just pull it down a little bit. And we got a runner. Because, hey, it's Sunday morning. Heading up a little bit of an incline. Hear how quiet it is. Wonderfully quiet. I think we're going to do a highway test after we do our back road loop, and we'll see how quiet it is at highway speed. But this is just marvelous. Just absolutely marvelous. Again, we're just running a bit higher than we should. It gets really twisty and steep in here. You got to pay a whole lot of attention. That's up there for good reason, that twisty sign. And you got to really stay to the right side. So down this part of the road, see the sign there, slow hug shoulder? They're not kidding around because there are a lot of accidents here because it's so tight. So right now, we'll take a look at that meter. We've traveled 2.6 miles and we've used up 1.4 miles of range because we were able to regenerate a bit, and also we weren't drawing on the battery. We'll ease out here. We're going to stop, come right up here, so there's no reason to go too fast. We'll bring it up to 25, a little bit higher, and then we'll let off. Miles through town here, so right now we're up to 33, and there is a nice incline as we roll up away from the floodplain. In many hybrids, the engine will kick in right around here, but because we're in a plug-in and this is in EV mode, right up the hill, no problem. And we're almost at parity right now. 3.1 miles traveled, 27.8. Now we're on the flat for a bit, so I'll just lighten up on the pedal. If you're interested in buying a beautiful church, this one's for sale. Now we've got another hill have to climb. Speed limit goes up to 35 here, and you want to watch it because the cops do like to give tickets. We're just a little bit past peak color, I think, here. It's what, the 11th, 12th of November. I think peak color happened this week, but there's still some beautiful trees. Hopefully on some of the roads that we're about to travel, you'll get a nice show. And we're going to turn here, and this is the road where we have our first hump test, because the hump test is part of every one of these stunt drives. Let's see if we hit this at 15 and see how it does. Pretty good. Pretty good. Let's take this one up to 20. I'm starting to get a little more violent. I'll bet if we hit it at 20, we'll scrape. But we're not going to go for it. All right, let's see. 19. That's about as fast as I want to go over those. Bring it down a little bit. Okay. Some cars are better on those than others. I've had cars scrape at under 20. And the Prius, for being as aerodynamic as it is, did just well. Sorry, the Prius Prime. Got another hill. Drag the brakes early, gets a regen happening. And again, we're just about at parity. No, actually, we're better than parity. 4.2 miles and 27. So we're actually ahead. Heading up a hill. Another speed hump. 19. This is a 35-mile-an-hour road. I'm sorry, 25-mile-an-hour road here. And you can see that's letting us know where we're at. We actually went above. Nice little downhill run. Ooh, we're going a little bit too fast here. You know I can hit those at 30 in some vehicles, but I'm not going to risk it in this one. Come to a full stop. We are 4.5 miles into the route, and we're at 26.7. So again, we're ahead. Give you another view of the church in case you're interested. Another 25-mile-an-hour road, so we ease out. There's a four-way stop coming up here. Right around here we let off. Because if you went up there full speed and jammed on your brakes at the last minute, you would waste fuel. You'd put more wear and tear on your brakes, frighten the person stopped at the stop. Okay, full stop, four-way. Let's crawl away from here. Again, another short stretch before we have a stop. Off. Coasting. Full stop. And we're going to give it just enough juice to get to the crest of this here. We're up to 31. It's 25-mile-an-hour road. 32. Foot is off the pedal. Goes to 35 here. You want to try and get to speed before you climb the hill, and then possibly lose a little bit on the way up. You don't want to be pedal in or far in on the way up the hill, because that's where you're going to use a lot of extra energy. 45 here. As we crest, now I'm going to take it up to speed. 49, foot off. I think we hit an acorn. Now, foot on to get through the turn, just really lightly. And you heard that beeping? That was me crossing over the center line, because, yep, there's lane keep in here. This has all this stuff. It's got lane keep. It's got adaptive cruise control. Okay, now we're heading down another hill. Foot off. And we're going to come up to a turn shortly. Climb over the ridge, the Princeton Ridge. Right now we're in the flat, just a little bit of an incline. Now some folks criticize this route and they say, it's all downhill. No, it's not all downhill. There's plenty of up and down, plenty of rolling. And what I did a couple of cars back was I ran the route forwards and backwards so that you could see the difference between the two. And you know what? We're going to do the same thing with the Prius Prime. We're going to run this route twice so that you can see the difference in the amount of electricity that we use. Oh, I braked a little bit too late here. Onto Heron Road. Now we've got a long climb up, 35 miles an hour, and again in a conventional hybrid, because of the length and the incline angle, this usually kicks the engine in, but this is all electric and we're doing just fine. At this point we're ahead on battery management, but by the time we get to the crest of the ridge, I think we'll be about even. That's a nice one. What's happening in here is that a lot of the smaller houses that may be 50, 60 years old, they're just getting knocked down and people are building McMansions. So where you have a reasonably sized ranch there, someone will come in and buy that and build a monster if the township allows them to do so. So that house, you know, was probably built early 1960s. There were a lot that were built in that style. Not one of my favorite styles. There are some incredible examples of architecture here around Princeton, just from pre-revolutionary colonials up to the most modern stuff. Look at this beautiful old farm. Circa 1790. Gorgeous old place. Whoops, we're over the line again. We got some more runners. Here we got a little bit of color on this road. Look, a puppy too. It's a happy puppy going out for a run. Right around here, we are going to crest it. This is top of the Princeton Ridge. And our indicator says we've traveled 7.7 miles and we're at 22.1 miles of range. So, yep. That uphill run eats up power. we're headed down a little bit, and we'll actually see, I predict, this range go up a good bit. We may end up even higher than where we are right now by the time we get to our final destination. Nice tight turns here. Handles it really well. The Prius Prime rides on the new Toyota TNG architecture, which underpins a lot of things. It's so much better than the original Prius. It's just so much smoother. It handles so much better. I was never really a fan of the way that the original Prius rode and handled. I thought he was kind of harsh. It got great mileage, but wasn't as smooth. This, it's there. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to see what they do with this platform as a Lexus. I mean, imagine this as a really high-end, decked-out Lexus. It's coming. Don't know when or what they're going to call it, but honestly, I think it'll be spectacular. Some of those new Lexus interiors are just wow, wow. I did the LC 500 a few weeks back. What a dream car. I could never afford it, but it was a treat to drive. All right, from this point onward, it's a nice, easy run. We're 8.5 miles in. We're showing 21.8. And we're just going to give it a little bit of scoot here. And we're going to use inertia. We're going to see if we can get those numbers up a little bit. The second part of this run, we're going to do it backwards so we climb up this hill. Brakes a bit, getting on it early, coming up to the stop sign. We are 9.2 in 22 miles. So our range did go up a little bit. Get it up to the speed limit here, 35. Then we'll get real light. Temperature's gone up a bit. It's 40 degrees right now. Positively balmy. We've got some work to do on Slambo today, so I'm looking forward to that. Crawling underneath the car. Yesterday it was mid-30s. We had an early cold snap, and I was waiting for parts all week. Saturday rolls along, and it's 35 degrees. I'm not really keen on climbing underneath the car. But today they say it's going to go up to maybe 45, so knock wood. I'll just have to put on my Milwaukee Tools heated hoodie, some pair of gloves, and get it done. These speed humps are a bit more forgiving. I hit that at about 24. Really cool old Colonial for sale there. I remember that one from when I was a kid. Cool old house. Hundreds of years old. We're doing just fine. just fine. We're going to end up ahead because of the way the lay of the land works. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about is HVAC. The amount of HVAC you use definitely affects your economy, your we'll say fuel economy, even though it's electricity. You use a lot of AC, use a lot of heat, it's drawing on that battery pack, you're going to have less range. Look at that puppy. Here we are. Endpoint. And yeah, we ended up a bit ahead. Not sure if you can see this. Hopefully you can. 10.3 miles traveled. 21.5 miles of range. So, we know that route is kinder. It gives us a little bit of extra inertia. I'm going to start up, start again, and then we'll see how we do on the backwards route and see how it compares. Get across Main Street here. There it is, the HV system indicator. That's what we want to see. So we are starting out with 21.1 miles of range at 0. And we're going to go backwards. Remember, these humps are forgiving. We can hit them at 22, no problem. Now this road has got a 35 mile an hour speed limit, but because of the humps, it's kind of ridiculous to take it up to 35. It felt like we were jumping dunes. Then we're up to 31. And we'll let off. That's the last of the humps. So we'll take it up to 35 or so. There's our lane departure warning. Okay, right now, 19.9 miles, 1.1. Watch what happens as we climb up this hill. left here, and we are up the hill 1.7 miles, and it's showing 18.4 miles of range left. Foot off at 30. Because we got another stop coming up here. Turn off POFOM onto Bun Drive. And we're foot off coming into this 10-mile-per-hour curve. This is pretty tight. We're actually going to take this at 20. No problem. Backed up to a 35-mile-an-hour limit here, but again, we're coming into some pretty tight turns. Marked for 15, so we are foot off at this point. We took it to 36, foot off, and we will start braking right here. 21. So smooth. Turn, we're hitting it at 32. Not a problem. Got runners, right? Those folks with a puppy are on their way back home. And lane departure didn't go off that time, which was interesting. Now, shows us for a hill. We got another walker here. That time we got the lane departure. It's over a certain speed where it kicks in. This should be a nice long coast. So this is all foot off. We're over the line again, sorry about that. Cruising at 35, foot off. 33. Foot back on, because we don't want to be accused of going too slow. Up to 38. Heading down the hill, you want to try to accelerate downhill a little bit. Don't accelerate uphill, accelerate downhill. And don't worry about keeping a constant speed unless there's someone behind you. If you've got somebody behind you, you got to be polite. But there's nobody behind you. You want to be efficient? Your speed's going to go up and down based on the roll. Now we've got a long stretch downhill. .34, and it's holding 34. It's not dragging it down. You see a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Go to that energy monitor, you see the wheels turning, right? Regenerative braking happening all on its own. You don't have to do anything to make that happen. Now we're going to stomp on the brake a little bit as we come up here, and you see as I stomp, that needle moves. We are 3.7 miles in, 18 miles. That's pretty good, I think. Gonna ease up the speed. We got another hill to climb up here, so we want to be, you know, above the speed limit a little bit as we climb up the hill, because we're going to give that back. it's marked for 35. I'm doing 43. You see that guy tap the brakes just there before the corner. Avoid using the brakes when you don't need to. Use them to regenerate. Let the car slow down for you by just taking your foot off the gas. Or the pedal, not necessarily the gas. When you're running under full electric power. Okay. 45 here. We're going to take it up to speed. And we got to watch out for this guy turn in. Okay, now 45, but we've got a 25-mile-an-hour turn coming up. Foot off. Don't need to touch the brakes. And we'll cruise through this at 36. No problem. Foot off at this point. Foot back on. Must be a news story, but I'm not checking because I don't do that when I'm driving. Now it's 25 here, so we were up to 40. I'm going to drag it a little bit right here. And then we're going to climb this hill with the lightest amount of pressure on the pedal because we're going to stop here. Start dragging it early. We're going to roll the stop a little bit. And again, another short street until the four-way. Start dragging it here. Cool old building for sale here for quite some time. Would make a nice shop for somebody, not me, because I don't have to do it. Right turn at the church. Foot off. Braking. Oh, and where are we, you ask? 5.7 miles, 15.7 of range. Hit that at about 24. Real nice. My feet are getting kind of cold. 41 degrees. My feet are finally getting a little cold. I am wearing a pair of Puma Vendanos? I can't remember the name of it. You know, if you're a big fan of the channel, you may have seen it. I'm starting to do driving shoe reviews just for ha-has. And this is the first pair that I've tested. If you're still watching this far in, you'll want to keep an eye out for this review because it'll be out pretty soon. I've been wearing these for a few weeks now. And I got to say, when I first got them and tried them on, I was really, really unhappy with them. Extremely unhappy with these shoes. You ever buy a pair of shoes that looks cool but just doesn't feel right? That was one of those cases. So I tried some different things and I'm a lot happier with them than I was. Let's just say that. I don't want to give too much away, but Sometimes you get a pair of shoes that you just wish you hadn't bought. And it was that way with these. I'm going to leave it right there. Save the rest of it. Keep an eye on the channel for the review on these Puma driving shoes, these fancy driving shoes. Needless to say, they're pretty thin, so on a cold day, there's no insulation. Last of the humps. Okay. Up the main street again. We've traveled 6.5 miles. There is 14.6 in the tank. Folks in a hurry on Sunday morning. Scurrying about doing her thing. Ease out. It's 35 here. Take it up to 30. And then give it a little bit of extra juice once we're headed down. Then it's foot off. So right now we're 38 and a 35. And we're not using juice, we're putting juice back in the battery as we're going down this hill. You can see that right there. Drops to 30 right here, so a little tap on the brake pedal, and then I'm off. Still coasting. We're at 26, 29, foot off. Okay. Headed downhill. Foot off. Coming up to the light. It's red right now, but it'll probably change by the time we get there. And we're going to turn left, and then we're going to turn right and go up that twisty road. Alrighty, we've traveled 7.6 miles at this point. We have 14.2 miles of range. And unfortunately, we got to take it all the way down to near zero here because it's so tight, just to be safe. We'll see that drop on this road pretty quickly. The same way we saw it hold or grow on the way down this hill, we're going to see it drop. We're weaving over the speed limit. It's one of those cars where you go faster than you think you're going because it's so smooth and quiet. BMWs are notorious for that on a performance luxury end of things, but this one from a just pure quietness. Wonderful. And if you haven't driven a car with an electric motor, man, oh man, you got to do it. Just, you got to experience it. There aren't a lot of places really where you can rent them. You may be able to go to, say, Turo or Get Around and rent one, but whatever it is, maybe it's a Chevy Volt or any of the other plug-in hybrids. If you're not going to go for a pure electric car, just go out and experience it and see what it's like, and it will give you new perspective if you've never done it before. These plug-ins are a great bridge to full electric. If you're not ready for a full electric car, you could do a lot of your shorter commuting with electric power, and then when you're on the highway, you've got the gasoline engine for the range. And that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to finish up this loop, and then I'm going to take it to the highway, to the interstate, and I'm going to do my 40+ mile loop with nothing in the big battery pack. I'm going to drain the big battery pack, and we're going to see how well it does as a pure hybrid on the driveway. We're going to see how it does as a pure hybrid on the interstate with nothing in that big plug-in pack. I think that's kind of a fair test. It's always difficult to figure out how you're going to test a plug-in hybrid because the numbers can be all over the place. Okay, so right here, 11.1 miles of range left, 11.2, sorry, and we've traveled 9.1 miles. Take it up to speed. And we're just in a glide. My foot is really light on the pedal. And so it's 11 o'clock right now. Probably a good thing if I go and do my highway loop. That way it'll warm up a little bit more before I crawl under this Civic to fix the exhaust. Long story there. I'll talk about that once we're on the highway. I'll tell you what's going on there. But Slambo has not been a happy camper for quite some time. You know how it is. Like, a car is good to you for years and years, and then you reach a point where it's not good to you. Slambo is still being good to me, but it's got this problem. It's got a limp mode problem. It takes a lot of explaining, Lucy. Okay, we are coming to the end of our backwards loop, which is fantastic. Just fantastic. Here we go. Turning left into this lovely neighborhood. And, you know, we can kind of call it right here, because I'm going to have to turn around. Let's call it right here. We've got 10.1 miles left in the battery pack. We've traveled 10.4 miles, 10.5 miles. So you go up hills, you go down hills. It all works out. You know, there's a difference between going clockwise and counterclockwise. I think we used a little bit more energy. I got to go look at the numbers because I can't remember what the last one was, but that's what we got. Pretty efficient. Lovely to drive on the back roads. It's not a sports car, obviously, but it rides really nice.